Hello, guys, and what's up? Welcome to the second episode of the Cartel podcast. Um, so I think a bunch of you guys must have watched the first episode on YouTube. I think that had good views. The YouTube channel is still around 100 and something subscribers. I think I only posted one video, and for those of you guys who are wondering about the other videos I made on YouTube channel, I removed them from the channel. Currently we only have the podcast, the first one that's on there, and so this podcast is going to be way different from the first one. I know the first one was a little bit more of taking personal responsibility and also mindset, to win and also be successful and stuff like that. But this podcast is going to range from a whole lot of topics. Okay, this what I intended to do with the podcast was kind of like a way for me to talk freely and express my thinking and my perspective of the world through this. And I'm not going to use this one like try to get paid or try to do that. None of that stuff. This is just solely for me as a platform for me to really try to make a change because again that's why I'm doing all of this. That's why I've been running free channels for years now, and no one out there even competes with what we do on the free channel, and that's why I've always tried to help out whatever way I can because my thing has always been to be in a position where I can help out lots of people, and if this is one of that avenue, then of course I'm going to take it. Of course I'm going to do my best to ensure that it works. So hopefully this is something that's worthwhile to you guys. So I'm gonna start with this, and I want you to listen very closely, and then I'll make a commentary on this. Testing is not going to be an option before boarding. Now, before you can move around, you need to get vaccinated. The person you just heard say this is the Prime Minister of Canada, which is Justin Trudeau, right? And this is a statement. You cannot fly, you cannot use a train, you cannot use public transportation unless you get vaccinated. Who talked about this a few months ago? We talked about this a few months ago. Who gave you the plans and gave you everything a few months ago? Now, if you're one of those people, oh, it's just one of these conspiracy, by all means, I don't give a shit. I said I'm going to be really uncensored on this because it's just like an avenue for me to vent. So I don't care. You can go do your stuff you want to do. I don't care. Like, I don't get paid off of this. I don't get paid off of all the things I do for you guys for free. This is just me being really pissed off at the fact that so many people we say things months ahead, they claim it's false, it can never happen, blah blah blah. A few months later it happens and they just go with it. They just accept it. That that is not the way it's supposed. If there was even a little bit of a resistance towards this, all of this would have been off by now. Now, the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because and the reason why all the things you've seen I've been talking about has been coming to pass, and you guys are just accepting it is because you're being trained to accept all of this. It's not just done suddenly. Okay, first of the stage is not going to be COVID passports. I laid out the blueprint. Okay, before I did all the stuff off the free channel, I laid out the blueprint from the World Economic Forum. They're going to use the passport. Okay, I'm later on during the in this podcast, I'm going to show you the new video that came out from the Davis Group, which is tied with the World Economic Forum, where they talked about a QR code to fly to eat at restaurants. Okay, it's and then from there they put in the carbon tax, bro. Anyways, so just to lay out the plans for the podcast, there's a part one of on this podcast, and there's a part two. So right now it's around 12:32 a.m. At Lagos, Nigeria. I don't know where you guys are at in the world. So initially, I wanted to do some kind of like study. I went to the gym today. It was a very wonderful session, and then got some meals to it. Came back home. Came back very late, and then I actually plan to start working on my new project, which is the Darwin Protocol or Darwin's Protocol. But I wanted to do this call first. I wanted to deliver my promise and get this call out there and see if I can make it something consistent, something big, hopefully. So one of my dreams is trying to, change the world and also help people positively can be reached through this platform. So again, before I go into the podcast, I want you guys to please share with whomever you think. If you find anything interesting that you need to share with anyone who might love this, please share. That's the only way we can grow this. Also encourages me to really, really take this serious, and we can do a lot of great positive stuff off of this. All right, so the podcast is laid out into part one, where I'm going to talk about the transhumanist, and then part two, where I'm going to talk about evolution. So part two is more of a personal development and also taking accountability for your life, which is my own personal philosophy that I use to get myself through on the day-to-day basis, which I think a lot of you guys are going to absolutely love. But again, part two is also it ties in with part one, and that's why I have to go through part one first. So if you think this is just one of those conspiracies and this is just one of those things you can just write off, honestly, you're still asleep. You're still in the matrix. And it's the same thing. I remember the first time watching the Matrix. I actually watched it late. That was like 2018, 19-ish. That was the first time I got exposed to the Matrix. And yeah, obviously I know I got exposed to it very late. But that was the first time I watched one of the movies, and it was so synonymous with real life. Whilst all of these things are going on, whilst the corporations are getting richer, whilst the poor people and the middle class are being eliminated and wiped out, everyone else is focused on entertainment, everyone else is focused on sports, everyone else is focused on everything, and acting as if the ship you're in is not freaking burning to ashes. Everything around you is burning out, and there's still so many of you guys who are blind to this, especially those of you guys in the West. Okay, it's gradually coming over here. So gradually come to Africa. It's gradually going to come to other parts of the world. But then it's going to happen in full effect once the West gets taken down. It seems like a conspiracy until everything we're talking about happens. Freaking happens. You just listen to the premise of Canada talking about you can travel, you can't use the railroad system, you can't use public properties, you cannot use public services unless you get vaccinated for a virus that is not worse than the flu. Guess the survival rate if you're below 50%. 99.967 is the survival rate if you're below 50, not 50%, excuse me, 50 years of age. This is a manufactured crisis. And the fact that so many people, they're not reacting towards this and you're just taking it in, it's gonna get up to a point where the plan is already in full effect and everything is already too late, which hopefully doesn't happen. If only we can resist, and if only we can take personal responsibility in a personal life before we change the world. Because there's this wonderful thing Jordan Peterson always talks about. It says before you go about changing the world, make sure you've cleaned your room, and that's the thing we're gonna talk about in part two of the podcast. We cannot change the world if our room is still dirty. That is just an analogy for before you can change the world, you have to fix your personal problems. You have to fix your life, okay? Before you can change the world. All right, so I was watching on my way to the gym. Um, I was watching a podcast on YouTube, and they played a clip of Jen Psaki, which is a speaker for the White House, and I think one of the reporters during a session was asking her about the supply chain crisis. So, for those of you guys who are not informed, if you're outside the US, any part of the world you're from, currently right now, all these ships that supplies goods to the retail chain in the US, they're currently on the stranglehold and they cannot move, they cannot supply stuff, and all the stores right now they're empty, and it's all over the news, all over everyone the news. You just go on the YouTube, type it out, supply chain crisis US, you're gonna see it all over the news. And the funny thing about this is when the reporter asked Jen Psaki this question, Jen Psaki again is the speaker for the White House, asked her the question, what's going on with supply chain crisis? Get what she said. It's a good thing that there's a supply chain crisis. Okay. Let me see if I can go on YouTube and so you don't just take my word for it. I want you to hear it from the horse's mouth. Okay, so I'm gonna type in Kentucky supply chain. Okay, let's see. Probably pulls or something. Um, this is all right. So let's see. This is like 30 minutes. So hopefully I can just get the clip if I can scroll to comments. I just want to get the clip where she says, uh, supply chain is a good thing. Jinsaki says supply chain crisis is a good thing. Okay, it's a good thing. I'm seeing Fox. I don't like Fox. I'm not gonna use this. I just want to get the clip of her saying. Okay, so I think we have one. So what I'm seeing right here on YouTube is Jinsaki defends. Okay, it was on an interview on CNN. Jinsaki defends inflation as good thing and the high class problem. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what I'm all the things I'm seeing is 30 plus minutes. I don't want to go in and play that. So, you guys, if you listen to this, you can just go on YouTube. You can watch the full interview, or just skip and you can see the part where she says that. But I was listening to the clip of one of the podcasts I watched on YouTube today, and she said it's a good thing. And also, Pete Buttigieg, which is one of the he's actually the one in charge of transportation in the U.S. He also said it's a good thing, right? And I was listening to that, and I had this evil smile on my face because it was just this dream I had whilst I was driving. It was like, it's they already told you before that you're not going to own anything and you're going to be happy. Guess who said that? Klaus Schwab. Okay, you're not going to own anything by 2030. You'll be happy. Okay, those of you guys who follow me on Instagram, you remember when I posted the video from Twitter directly from the World Economic Forum? They said that. They said by 2030, you're not going to own anything, you're going to be happy. And you keep hearing people say over and over, just like Greta Thunberg during the, I cannot remember, the climate crisis. There's a climate crisis. Now, I'm not saying there's no climate change. Again, this is not supposed to be a conspiracy, blah, blah. But what they're saying is the world will end in 7 years. The world will end in 10 years. AOC is saying that. Greta Thunberg is saying that. Okay. By the way, Greta Thunberg is sponsored by John Soros. That's the whole of topic else. Okay. 10 years from now is 2030. The world is going to end in 10 years. Oh, there's a climate change, and within 10 years, the entire world will be underwater. But this is going to happen. Da da da. That's not how climate change works. Okay. It does not just go from normal to end of the world in 10 years. Except maybe just like a meteor that eats the Earth or something. It does not just go from normal to the world ends. So you can see it all ties in, not ties down, excuse me. You can see it all ties in with the 2030 agenda where they say you're going to own nothing and you're going to be happy. Now, I sent you a link to the World Economic Forum, and what I like to encourage people to do On this is the first time I'm doing something like this. What I like to encourage people to do is whenever I make a statement, go and verify for yourself. So I'm not making false statement. Okay, I don't want misinformation, all of that stuff. It's your job to make sure you are informed. It's my job to provide you with basically the information, and then it's your job to verify the information and look it up for yourself. Just a simple Google search, World Economic Forum Great Reset, takes you directly to the World Economic Forum page. I'm currently looking at the page right now. The World Economic Forum. It's one of the tabs I have open on my desktop. Okay. The Great Reset. The very first thing on their page, the Great Reset, there is an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis. To improve the state of the World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. What is the Reset Initiative? Okay, now on that this same page I'm scrolling down right now, the context. Okay, they have a section that says the context, and this is exactly what they say directly from the website. The COVID-19 crisis and the political, economic, and social disruptions it has caused is fundamentally changing the traditional context for decision making. Inconsistencies, inadequacies, and also contradictions of multiple systems from health and financial to energy and education are more exposed than ever amidst a global context of concern for lives, livelihoods, and the planet. Okay, so now they're saying the leaders find themselves at a historic crossroads, managing short-term pressures against medium and long-term uncertainties. How does COVID has to do with this? Now look at the next category on the website. The title of this is the opportunity. So I just read the context. Now they say the opportunity, and this is exactly from the World Economic Forum website. This is exactly what it says on there. As we enter a unique window of opportunity to shape recovery, this initiative will offer insights to help inform all those determining the future state of global relations. The direction of national economies, the priority of societies, nature of business models, and the management of global commons. Drawing from vision and vast expertise of the leaders engaged across the firm's communities, the Great Reset Initiative has a set of dimensions to build a social contract that honors the dignity of every human being. A social contract. Now, they frame it like it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're going to be in control of your life. And I just clicked the page that says read more. They say, here, Klaus Schwab on these podcasts. So, what they're saying is COVID, like, again, you want to go and read the website for yourself. I was just scrolling through. So continuing from the website, this is what they say there. The Great Reset agenda would have three main components. The first would steer the market towards fairer outcomes, and that's why the corporations taking all your wealth. Well, that is fair to them. That is fair because they don't want the middle class. They want power from the people. They want to consolidate power and control. But let's read. The first will steer the market towards fairer outcomes. To this end, government should improve coordination, for example, in tax, regulatory, and fiscal policy, upgrade trade arrangements, and also create the conditions for a stakeholder economy. Okay. Now they're saying, oh, the government should implement long overdue reforms that promotes more equitable outcomes, blah blah. And now you're talking about fossil fuel subsidies. You're talking about carbon tax. Let's tax everyone that use let's tax every of the population in the world with a carbon tax because oh you're destroying the earth and oh the earth is going to end in 10 years and oh we don't want the earth to end in 10 years So the earth is being destroyed and so much carbon in the atmosphere and it blah blah blah. So we need to tax you. It's for your own good. We need to tax you. We need to use COVID to tax you. But first we need to track you. And then once we can track you, then we can monitor you. And then from there we can create a social credit system. And then from there we can then introduce the climate change tax, the carbon tax. I've talked about this before. It's happening right now. And I told you that they're going to first cripple the US economy, make you all susceptible to the government, make you all want government handouts, and then the government is giving you guys stimulus checks, and everyone thinks the money's being printed out of thin air. Remember, 40% of the US dollars in circulation since the inception of the United States was printed in the last 1 year. I'm going to make that statement so it's clear to you guys very, very well. So you really understand what I'm saying. Almost half of the money of the dollar currency since the inception of the United States was printed in the last 1 year. Is this random? Is this by accident? Obviously, no. You're printing trillions and trillions of dollars, you're giving out stimulus checks, and you're funding working gender and all of that stuff, and your money is being embezzled, and your government is bringing out the corporations, and the big banks are sponsoring all of these things. You're being made poorer to sponsor an agenda that hates you, that does not want you existing, and that's why you can go up and look at all the YouTube videos of Bill Gates saying, well, let's talk about the world population. And how just so many people in the world, and now, you know, we need to talk about global population because it's just a lot, and it's a chokehold on resources. Now there's a supply chain crisis, and the freaking people in power are just saying, "Oh, it's a good thing." And Biden freaking says Build Back Better, and Justin Trudeau of Canada freaking says Build Back Better, and the one over there in the UK, I don't know its name, the Prime Minister of England says the same thing. Build back better. And guess who says build back better? Klaus Schwab. Not random. None of that is random. It's been in the Rockefeller reports. I freaking sent you guys the PDF from the Rockefeller Foundation from 2010. 2010, Rockefeller Foundation talked about exactly this. They gave you the time frame. They said by 2020, then by 2023, this is what was happening, and this is all of this. They gave you a timeline for the implementation of all of this. Now it really comes out that Fauci sponsored the gain of function research in Wuhan that led to this. No one talks about this. Yet the man is allowed to make rules that controls you guys in the US, then trickles down to other parts of the world. Is this not freaking insane? Is this not insanity? Is this a craziness? Do you think the people who are doing this, do you think they have your best interest in their hearts for you? Do you think so? No, obviously not. Oh, just wear a mask to protect grandma because COVID, but yet none of them wear masks. Go to all the freaking celebrity parties. You can say, oh, but they're vaccinated. Well, if you're vaccinated, so they're not allowed to wear masks, but you're vaccinated, but you're still told to wear a mask. And now the freaking governor, the prime minister of Canada came in and gave mandatory vaccination. Against your will, you have to undergo a medical experiment. It's a medical experiment because the long-term side effects of this has not been determined yet. COVID is not that serious. COVID is not a big deal. There's so many things you can do without crippling the world economy. And I'm saying this passionately because I see where this is going. That's why I'm saying this passionately. And so many of you guys, you lack the backbone to speak out. You fear what this mindless ship says, and that just no way you're going to excel in the world if you're still worried about what the next person says. There's no way you're going to make us. There's no way you're going to leave an impact in the world if you cannot even defend yourself because you fear you're going to offend the next person. Fuck all of that. Fuck all that shit. Okay, so my mindset right now is Fuck all that shit. Get money. Even if you cannot control the outcome, at least put yourself in a better position to be able to thrive through the setback. And that's the mindset. And that's why I'm going into part two of the podcast. Thriving through every situation and excelling and winning and freaking dominating, because that's what you're going to see me do over the next few days. You're already seeing me do that. Okay, you're already seeing me freaking dominating. Yeah, I have a little amount of followers. Okay, anyone out there except from the mentor himself who steps out against me, I can easily take them because I've worked hard for this. My timeline has always been this. I knew I've known all of this for years now. And watching every single thing happen in front of me on the day-to-day basis, initially it scared me. I'll be honest. Initially, all these things happening. Remember the first 2 weeks of lockdown, okay? Just 2 weeks of lockdown. And I went on my Instagram and said, this is not going to end. And everyone called me a conspiracy theorist. Has this ended? No. Why? How did I know? Everyone was like, oh, it's just 2 weeks. It's just 15 days. Just 15 days to flying the curve. Remember, it was about flying the curve. It was about flattening the curve. Oh, don't let the hospitals get overwhelmed, and don't let this get this. And all the things we saw out of China where people were freaking falling down and dying and doing this, all of those were all propaganda because we've not seen anyone physically do that. We're not seeing people freaking falling off on the streets and dying and stuff like that. None of that has happened. So the ones who funded this, they are the ones making the rules. They are the ones making the policies. And the economy is being crippled, number one, with the supply chain crisis for those of you guys in the US, number two, with inflation. They're paying so much money, it's the inflation is going through the roof. So each dollar has lesser purchasing power. Gas is going through the roof. This is systematic. This is not because the administration is bad or because the administration is not effective. It's not because of that. It's because this is intentional. None of this can happen unless it's intentional. All of this is intentional. That's the point I'm trying to let you guys understand. Because a few months down the line, it's going to freaking happen, and then a bunch of you guys, as always, you're going to reach out to me and you're seeking help. You're seeking help on in social media. I wish I listened to you. The ball I'm speaking it right now. This is your chance. This is your chance to take action. This is your chance to be awake. As long as you're awake, that's what we need from you. We need people who are willing to drive humanity in the right direction, in the right path. That's why I'm doing this. That's why it's currently 1 a.m. I'm still doing this because I'm really passionate about this. So I just saw a video from the US. Uh, Biden came out 2 weeks ago and said mandatory vaccination for all government workers and for all businesses with 100 above 100 employees. They need to get the people vaccinated. But it was not something that was written into law. So it's not a law. It's just an edict that he stated on uh, the news that's being freaking implemented. But most healthcare systems, you're firing the nurses, they're firing the doctors, okay? Because they're now saying if the nurses or the doctors you're not vaccinated, they're they're getting fired, and then you're being replaced by female employees. Okay, the female employees are replacing them. These are federal employees. Okay, the federal employees are replacing all of these people, and guess what? It's optional for the federal employees if they want to get vaccinated. But it's mandatory for the doctors and nurses to get vaccinated. Yet you're going to be in the same hospital. Yet you're going to treat the same patients. What do you think the goal of this is? The goal is to flood the healthcare system with people who will comply to the government, people who will follow the directives of the government. I just read an article that was last week. It said an hospital said they would not do a transplant to a patient because the patient was unvaccinated. You can imagine. We're not going to save your life because you're unvaccinated. So because you're not vaccinated, you deserve to die. That's what you're saying. Now imagine a healthcare system comprised of federal employees. Guess what happens? Anything the government says, boom, can be implemented quickly. A lot of you guys are going to say, oh, no, it cannot happen in the US. Think about all the things you said. This will never happen in the US. The US is just great, will never happen. They're freaking happening right now. You're systematically taking your money, taking your wealth, you're laughing to your faces about it, and you are weak and pathetic, and you're doing nothing about it. You're not working your ass off for your goals on a day-to-day basis. You're still relying on that employer. You're still getting your day done, and you're going to watch Netflix, and you're chilling, and you're going to games, and you're in entertainment, and you're doing nothing in real life as you're being systematically made poorer, and as you're being eliminated because you're not a part of the program. You are absolutely not a part of the program. I said it before, they don't want so much people in the world. They feel like we're a parasite, we're a virus we need to be taken care of. Now, go and look at the data from all these countries, right? Also in the US, the number of COVID patients, let me get rid of my Telegram. So, number of COVID patients now is about 300% number of COVID patients from last year. And everyone's saying, oh, it's the Delta variant. Yes, the Delta variant. That's why we have so many COVID patients. And oh, it's a breakthrough case. If you get, you know, if you got the COVID jab and you got your booster shot and you still got COVID, it's just a breakthrough case. It's very rare and stuff like that. Right? Right? Look at all the countries. The ones that start administering the Pfizer and all the Moderna and all the different vaccines, COVID rate increases. Look at what Israel is facing. Look at what Singapore is facing. Do you think all of this is? Oh, bro, I'm trying my best not to be too passionate on the call, on the podcast. I know this is my first time, so if I do this consistently enough, I know I'll definitely improve. So you guys have to bear with the low quality work and also me just ranting off. Um, I want to talk about this. Also, I was watching the video and I was seeing what came out of Australia, where one of the Australians went out with coffee, and it was taking a sip of his coffee, and all of a sudden, boom! I think it was in New South Wales. That's where they have the strictest COVID law. And one of the Australians was taking a sip of coffee, and the cops came and said, you're under arrest for taking off your mask to drink a cup of coffee. It was Orwellian, bro. It was 1984-esque. It's getting very close to German Nazi. Okay, getting very very close. And the wonderful thing about this is all these media experts who propagate all of this. Okay, and all these leftists, because it's mainly leftists, and all these uh, even right wingers who sit back and do nothing. I mean, the Republicans, for those of you guys in the US, okay? Everyone's all in it. Biden, Trump, all of them, they're all in on it, okay? They're all the same, coat of the same feathers or color of the same, I don't know what they call it. They're all the same size. These people think they're part of the inner circle. They think by the cops enforcing this, okay? And the government workers enforcing this, and the military men enforcing this. You think that you're a part of the inner circle, that your family is going to be spared. You're not. The people in charge of this, they don't want power. They don't want independence. They don't want freedom of the population. Why don't they want this? Hopefully, you're ready for this. Now, you can dismiss this portion as conspiracy, and that's fine by me, okay? Because again, there's no way for me to prove this, so obviously, you can disclose this as conspiracy. So that's acceptable. But it's because they have this theory, and that's why I named my recent project the Darwin Protocol, and it all ties back to Darwin. Not necessarily ties back to Darwin, but Darwin propagated a lot of this stuff. But we'll talk about that. We'll go into that, and I'll find articles and stuff so I can back up my claims with links and stuff. But this is the transhumanist agenda. Transhumanist agenda meaning these people, these billionaires, and George Soros and Bill Gates and the Fauci's and Klaus Schwab, okay, and Warren Buffett, okay, all these billionaires with your wealth, and Jeff Bezos who think you're better than us, okay, because having that level of wealth, you automatically feel like you're God, okay, that's typically what could happen. They feel like they're better than us, and they feel it's their job to engineer society to the next stage of evolution. It's your job. This is all social engineering. Okay, all of this, the propaganda, the what social media is doing, all of that stuff. It's all social engineering, and that's why you're looking at your fellow human, and it's like, are you freaking asleep to what's going on? That's always been the plan, and that's why they keep saying you're going to own nothing, you'll be happy. You see, you'll eat the insects, the bugs, you're gonna eat the bugs, and you're going to live in a pod, and you'll be happy. And you're going to only eat meat on rare occasions. Okay, you can only eat meat on rare occasions. You're going to be sterile, you're not going to allow you to give birth. Okay, we want to control the population. We don't want too many people in this world, but we're going to make sure that you're happy. We're going to make sure that it's all of this is all leading to a social credit system. Once that can be implemented globally, boom, carbon tax, boom, the downfall of humanity. I told you COVID was always not about COVID. COVID was always about the social credit system for the carbon tax. Go and watch the recent video from the Davos Fund where they talk about the new COVID system that takes your blood and makes a QR code out of your blood. But they say it's a good thing. So obviously it's a good thing. Let me see if I can type this in. There's no way. Okay, just actually, it's just a bunch of. It's a presentation with no uh, voiceover, so it's going to be very difficult to. Well, so what can we do? How can we take back control? And it all ties back into into this. So before you can go and change the world, you need to change yourself. You need to fix yourself, and you can start by changing the world by changing yourself. How can you change yourself? One word: discipline. Discipline is the pathway to an extraordinary life. And this is where I segue into part two of the podcast, which is evolution. Now, let's look at Darwin's theory of natural selection. Natural selection is the differential survival and reproduction for individuals due to differences in phenotype. It is a key mechanism of evolution, the change in the heritable traits characteristic of a population over generations. Okay, so natural selection from Charles Darwin is what are the genomes passed down from a parent to offspring that helps it adapt to its environment, and the genomes that helps a offspring adapt to the environment will become the dominant genome, so that way the offspring can adapt more to that environment. And that's essentially what I'm talking about in this portion of the podcast, which is adaptation and then thriving. Okay, for you to thrive, you need to first evolve. What are you evolving from? Have you ever looked at a butterfly? Before the butterfly becomes that elegant, beautiful butterfly, was first a caterpillar, which is this worm with spikes in it. And I remember when I was still a little kid, in one of the houses we used to live at, there was so many caterpillars on the fences, and I was always like, ew, it's always irritating to me. I was always scared of them because my mom used to tell us that if we stepped on one of them, our feet would swell up, and that was always a fear. But if you look at a butterfly, it goes from a caterpillar to a volva, which is where it gets into the cocoon. It's wrapped in, and then it finally evolves into the butterfly. Okay. Now, from the caterpillar to the butterfly, it's undergoing stages of evolution. Not necessarily evolution, but I mean changes. Okay, evolution. Okay, so it is going through stages to be its best self. And that means for you to thrive in every situation. And all the things I said before is not to put fear or panic into you. It's That's not the goal. Okay, right now I'm as confident as I've ever been. Confident and confident in my own abilities. Confident in what I can do, regardless of whatever the situation is. And that's the same thing that all of you guys excuse me, all of you guys listening to this right now, you're going to have to do. You're going to have to evolve. It's the first stage towards success. Now, I'm doing this practically. I'm not going and giving theories. You have to do this. I'm seeing practical things that you can take right away and then apply to your life. Okay, before you can change the world, you have to change yourself. You have to clean your room. So the first thing for those of you guys who are still slacking, for those of you, if you're not, the first thing that ask yourself is, are you content with your day-to-day life and the progress you're making on a day-to-day basis? If your answer is no, be real honest. Real honest. If your answer is no, then you know you need to start putting in the work. How can you start putting in the work? By evolving. Evolving into that individual that everyone looks up to for solutions. That's the person you gotta be right now. That's the person I am to my extended family. That's the person I am to a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys that reach out to me and you're asking questions. What do I do about my investment? What do I do if this happens? What do I do if that happens? All questions regarding trading to life and stuff. A lot of you guys reach out to me because I've made myself that guy that has the answers to your problems. Not necessarily has the answers to your problems. I'm saying that I'm that guy. And that's the thing you have to work on. Work on being competent. Work on being responsible. And that starts by changing your day to day routine. You can never evolve if your day to day routine is the same as it was before, that led to you being static, that led to you not seeing changes, that led to you not seeing growth. You have to change your day to day routine. If you are spending 2 hours watching Netflix, you're spending only 30 minutes studying, you're spending only 20 minutes reading the book, that has to change. Now you have to dedicate your time to growing. Why do you think I hit the gym every single day? That obviously I love the dopamine rush I get from hitting the gym. It's also because I've made a commitment to be at my optimal best mentally, be at my optimal best financially, be at my optimal best physically. So I'm reading books and I'm working out and I'm studying and I'm making lots of money, just like I've shown you guys on my Instagram. And everything is clicking for me right now because I've spent the time and the commitment to creating a routine that facilitates growth in all these different areas of my life. Okay, I just finished one of my journals, and tomorrow I'm going to go out to the store and get a new journal. Okay, and I'm going to keep documenting my growth and progress. Like I said, in the next few months, I'm going to be out of this, totally off, out, everything. And that's why I'm working as hard as I can to also help those on the team to, understand my level of perception. But I'm still putting in work more than a lot of you guys, despite the progress I've made. Because all the things I said earlier on the podcast, they're real. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you want to call it conspiracy theories and names and stuff, that's on you. Okay, eventually it's gonna catch up with you, and you can deal with the information then. But I choose to deal with the information early. That's why I'm always prepped. Just like I said, you want to stack your house with supplies and stuff, and now it's just a supply chain crisis. And once it becomes mainstream that just a supply chain crisis, guess what happens? Everyone starts going to the store, wants to get everything, and that even furthers the crisis. And then you will listen to me months and months ago told you to stack up because you called me conspiracy theorist. Now you're starving because you were not smart enough. Because you've been trained by the system. Anything that goes against the narrative is officially a conspiracy. That's what they're training to be. Sheep. And for you to evolve, you have to stop being a sheep. You have to be a critically thinking individual, not led by emotions. It also even affects your charts, affects your performance on the charts. And that's why you guys saw, those of you guys who were in the team with me during I think it was March going into May. I had the worst trading months in my career for 2 years, where I was struggling seriously, and I was averaging like 40% accuracy or 50% accuracy, and it was really, really bad. And I explained it was my psychology, all the things that was going on. I never for once blamed it on the market. Never said, "Oh, it was because of the market." I always made sure it was my fault, and that was the way I could come out of that situation. And now, for like a month, we've not taken a loss, or we've only taken one loss, which is my two pips, which no one else in the industry can ever do, can ever back up. And you guys go on the live session with me day to day basis, and we're doing it every single day because I've worked hard for this, because I've spent hours, just like I'm doing right now, 1:14 a.m. I'm still working hard on this podcast, and after 1:14 a.m., once I'm done with the podcast, I'm going back to study and I'm putting in the work and I'm showing up every single day because I really, really want that growth, that personal growth for myself, because I really want to evolve. So that's what you need to do. It's going to take a lot of work to go from being a caterpillar to being a butterfly, but it is absolutely 100% worth being a butterfly, because when you become a butterfly, you stand out. Everyone notices you when you become a butterfly. Everyone wants to associate with you when you become a butterfly. And becoming a butterfly means you're the one everyone looks up to. You take on the responsibilities. You know how to act. You know what you're supposed to do, and you've changed your life. That's the person you gotta be, and you can never achieve that without discipline. Discipline equals freedom. Jocko Willing talks about this every single time, and it's a very good book. Discipline equals freedom. Discipline not to masturbate. Discipline not to go on Netflix and spend hours on Netflix. Discipline when you wake up in the morning to first go and look at your tasks and objectives and begin to work through that. All of that takes discipline. Without discipline, you can never evolve. And the goal right now is, as much people as possible need to evolve. That's the only way to beat the system. Take the red pill, get out of the matrix, evolve, beat the system, thrive financially, thrive emotionally, thrive physically. Don't survive, thrive. When there's inflation, when the economy is crashing, you're not supposed to survive. You're supposed to thrive. The wealthy, they love market crashes. They love economic recessions because that's a chance for them to buy up everything and consolidate power amongst themselves. That's why so during the first lockdown, guess how many people lost jobs? But guess how much profit the top 10 wealthiest people in the world made? They made $1.8 trillion collectively. 10 people, 10 richest people in the world made $1.8 trillion collectively in your net worth. Whilst majority of the people in the world in third world countries were starving, and a lot of people in the first world countries were losing their jobs. They were getting the government bailout and government handouts, while the wealthiest people in the world were raking in more money. Then they were buying off farmlands. Look at the largest owner of farmland in America, it's Bill Gates. And you're owning all the things whilst you're here being pathetic You're sucking up to them, and you're stuck in the system, and you're stuck in the mirage of the system, the entertainment, and the porn, and the media, and all of that stuff, and the brainwashing from the mass media, and you're stuck in all of that stuff. You're drinking the Kool-Aid of all of these things whilst you're being systematically killed, whilst you're being systematically made poorer, whilst you're being systematically reading out of history. You're being systematically starved, and you do nothing about it. And they tell you it's for your own good, and they tell you right to your face it's good for you. Look at all these politicians enforcing the mask mandates. They never follow the mask mandates. Look at the vaccine mandates. Federal employees are exempt from vaccine mandates. Congress is exempt from vaccine mandates. Biden and stuff, they're exempt from vaccine mandate. They can decide to take it if they want to take it. They're exempt from it, but you are forced to take the vaccine. Your family is forced to take the vaccine because they want you to know to your face you're worthless, you're a piece of shit. That's what all these people think about you. That's what they truly think about you. So get out of you trying to play, oh, I voted for Democrats or Biden or I voted Republican. You're all birds of the same feather. You're all the same thing. You're all the same elitists, controlled by the same few families that run the banks. It might seem like a conspiracy, but I've shown you guys it's the banking family that runs all of this. They fund all of this. They run all of this. That's why the freaking Federal Reserve can print trillions of dollars in cash. And they can bail out big corporations. They own the money supply. They print the debt and then they place that debt in you, so you're bailing out the corporations. Because when they print money, it translates into inflation, translates into less buying power from your dollar, translates into more taxes for you. So you're the ones paying to bail out the corporations. You're the ones paying to pay the stimulus checks and all of these things. It's all a mirage. The only way you can break out of this is to change your daily routine. And your mindset right now should be, how can I evolve? What can I do to evolve? That means setting your task for the next day. Make sure you're working out or you're doing some kind of resistance training. Work on your physical health, work on your mental health. Read books, start listening to podcasts every single day. It's necessary, absolutely necessary. Listening to podcasts on education, finance, any podcast that elevates you mentally. It's not limited to one thing. Start working on the new skill set. A lot of you guys who will listen to this, you probably trade forex. Start putting in more hours into study, just like I'm doing. Start making the conscious decision to change your life. Start making a conscious decision to spend less time on social media. Start making a conscious decision to spend less time on entertainment. Start making a conscious decision to spend less time watching porn and put more time into your business and more time into your health. I spend 3 hours at the gym. Okay, I work out like 1, 2 hours doing cardio. When I'm doing cardio, I'm listening to podcasts. Once I'm done, boom, we'll get groceries back at home, prep my meal, back to studying. And that's why I barely have time for a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys are eating me up and you're thinking, oh, it's the same way I used to reach out to J9 service. Why I barely have time for you guys because I'm on a mission. I have my own thing I'm doing. I have my own shit I'm working on. As it should be for a lot of you guys. So I'm going to wrap up the podcast here because it's taken a long, long time. This is about almost an hour of me talking. So I'm gonna wrap it here. I would appreciate your feedback from the podcast. So if you're listening to this on YouTube or you're listening to this on iTunes or Anchor, I don't know which of them you're listening to this on. You can follow my Instagram at the weird gene underscore. So it's spelled TheWeird underscore. So the weird gene is my Instagram handle and you can drop a feedback on this podcast, or you can follow me on Twitter at Real Weird Gene. So it's spelled Real Real Weird WeirD Gene. So you can reach out to me there and you can drop feedback and also ideas for future podcasts. I think I have something in mind, but I'll also share your idea. So if feedback is well appreciated, hopefully this led something impactful. I know this is kind of depressing with the first stuff I went through, but was necessary. I promise not all the podcasts are going to be like this, except I feel it's necessary. So you guys will have a wonderful day and see you all on the next podcast. Remember to subscribe, and drop a thumbs up for the podcast. Have a good day.